Hello everyone, and welcome back to Naismith Gaming. Today I'm not actually playing any games, so much as using them to show you a few things. Specifically, I wish to talk about customization in games. Not something like the various leader traits, but unit customization. For example, the ability to choose between, here in Stellaris, it would be the ability to choose between these various bows and sterns, and cores once I get cruisers and up. But these various chassis for units, it can either be a game definer, or it can be negligible. For example, in the Civilization games, which I'm going to show later, depending on what the customization is, it could be a game definer for attack and defense, or it could be a mostly useless, like the promotion trees. Or well, actually no, not like the early promotion trees. Meanwhile, here in Stellaris, such a simple decision as Picket, trading one of my small slots for a Sentinel point defense, allows the fleet to utterly rampage through stations that aren't upgraded, which is a bit game-defining, really. At least early game. Meanwhile, late game, there will be battleships and cruisers, where the choice between large slots and hangar slots depends the balance of an entire fleet, and whether or not they can win some against another fleet. For example, whether a Leviathan, which these are not... Actually, no. I can still use these as an example. These ancient mining drones, for example, appear to have no shields, plenty of armor, which would mean that it will define the battle whether or not I use high lasers or high guns against them, because lasers will have a huge bonus. And if I were to use, say, Bubbles, who I do not yet have, or might not ever get this game, then their bonus versus hull and armor will give them a huge bonus against me, whereas my shields will actually give me a fair chance against them. I should probably destroy these drones and take their tech for myself. Such a simple, game-defining thing there. There's also the defining traits, which greatly help or hinder in certain jobs, though they're more passive than strategy defining. Strategy defining would be more like, do I move these to harry the enemy, like the United Pact used to harry me? I won that fight. Or do I just steamroll through? One of my favorite examples of unit customization is Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. See how many units I have here? I could, for instance, select any tech that I have. Actually, let's I need to clear these out. I can easily select, do I want it to be a tank? Do I want it to be infantry? Do I want speed or a bonus when attacking cities? Or I can choose C units. Do I want cheap or do I want powerful? Let's say that I choose a tank. I can choose any of these that I've unlocked. I could, for instance, make my workers be faster by choosing this. Or I could choose this, or this, or this. Fast settlers. Or I can choose any of these particularly powerful weapons. Because this is set in the Civilization games before attack and defense were combined to a single power rating, I could choose a very cheap attack weapon while instead giving them plasma steel armor to make it a very powerful defensive unit. And because this is Alpha Centauri, I could say increase their radar for making a very good scout unit. But if I want to scout, why should I bother with heavy shielding? I'll just have it retreat while it sees many spaces out. And the price changes because it's at sea instead of at land. There's also these other things. For example, I could choose... It allows me to commit atrocities for a small cost. Or I can simply choose a bombard. Defense plus speed -2. Which incentivizes infantry, thereby changing the cost of this to 0. Meaning that this particular unit wants very low shielding and low speed. To exchange, use the Chaos gun, giving them tremendous power, but at the expense of needing someone to defend them, such as, say, with this armor. And practically terrible attack weapons, because why bother when the defense is what I roll if they attack me? And that is Alpha Centauri's unit customization. Meanwhile, in Alpha Centauri's successor, Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth, pay my load score no mind, I'm playing on Apollo. Customization is more streamlined. I don't really get the choice between high attack or high defense units. But at low values, I can choose between bonuses to a defensive stat, bonuses to an attack stat, well, bonuses when attacking, and then adjacency bonuses, or non-adjacency bonuses, or special abilities, or better defenses. Or other special abilities, like fortification breakers or flankers. Or eventually, bonuses versus melee or ranged. Which feels a lot more streamlined of special powers than that bombard ability. Meanwhile, each of these ships has a few of their own special powers. Basically, the chassis, any special powers, well, baseline special powers like stealth or long-ranged attacks, are predetermined for me, but I can modify various abilities. I'm not sure if it has the same soul as Alpha Centauri or not, though it is the spiritual successor. And that is Beyond Earth's general philosophy. Meanwhile, in Civilization, the main series, there's all sorts of things such as individual unique units, which actually which don't change too much, aside from a certain era, how the civilization plays. A far greater importance to Civilization 6 than the unique units. The promotion trees. Where this crossover happens varies from unit to unit, but you basically get to choose the first left side or the first right side, then the second left side or the second right side for getting the capstone power, for example, or you can decide to stick with the weaker powers. For example, just be very, very mobile, be very good at watching things, or be good at hills or woods. And very good at scouting, or very powerful in combat, not just mobile. And, whilst, for example, melee units instead get to double down on their anti-spear or anti-cavalry feature, or on being specialists in certain forms of combat, like having the scale cliff walls, or else getting extra movement. Actually, I believe anti-cavalry get extra movement too at some point. Ultimately, I don't think the promotion trees actually count as true unit customization, though. The way to look at customization isn't in the unit itself, but in the balance of units. Whereas only recently in Civilization was there a need for much of a balance between some good, strong defensive units and some good attack units. Like, say, how Civ 5 and 6 removed the Stack of Doom. In Evil Genius, for example, you can determine the balance of workload, which could be a customization in and of itself. Scientists being cheaper than biologists, being cheaper than quantum chemists, but also being less useful. Same for technicians and engineers. Or valets being the cheapest form of deception minion, and used to create the better ones, but also being necessary for their own tasks, thus making it a game of balancing. Not the build itself, not the unit's build itself, but the build itself being the units. And the henchmen. So yeah, just another look at different customization options. About one that customizes not the units, but the balance of them.